Have you ever just, stared at those endless vocabulary lists, felt that dread about grammar, and just wished there was a shortcut? A faster way to actually master a new language. Imagine skipping all that initial overwhelm, getting right to the core of communicating, and actually feeling fluent much faster.
Well, if that sounds appealing, you're definitely in the right place today. That's exactly what we're diving into. We're looking at this really strategic, almost custom-built approach to learning languages. It's not just learning, it's optimizing the whole thing. It
Yeah.
cleverly mixes foundational words, voice technology, the stuff we use every day, and yeah, artificial intelligence.
Right, AI. And our source material for this is pretty interesting. It's a YouTube video transcript. Someone basically detailing their unique 20 sentences project. Gives us a real look into how one person is rethinking language learning.
Exactly. And our mission here is to pull out the key ideas, the really surprising bits of this method. We want to show you how this person is using modern tools to build vocabulary fast and, crucially, improve communication across, well, more than one language. It might give you some ideas.
Okay, let's unpack this right from the beginning then. The creator starts with what seems pretty fundamental, focusing on high frequency and defining words. High frequency, okay, that makes sense. But what about these defining words? Why is that combo the big strategic starting point?
Yeah, that's where it gets interesting. It's all about building a really solid linguistic skeleton first. The source stresses that these specific 2,000 words aren't just common, they're foundational, used every day, crucial for just basic communication. Getting these down well really boosts everything, listening, speaking, even pronunciation. It's like building the frame of a house before you put up the walls.
Ah, okay. So it's about getting the biggest bang for your buck initially, learning-wise, right? Setting that strong foundation.
Precisely. And connecting that to the bigger picture, the idea is once you've really mastered those 2,000 words, then you can go to the topic words and just expand remarkably. It's laid out as a strategic path, a way to build communication skills effectively in, well, they say any language. It avoids that feeling of just drowning in random words.
That makes a lot of sense. Build the core structure, then add the details. Okay, so they have the words. How do they actually practice? They talk about creating 20 sentences over and over. How does that work? And how do they make that efficient?
Right, and this is where the tech comes in cleverly. They don't just write them out, not primarily. They use Google Docs voice typing. So they're actually speaking the sentences to get them down. They say it's about saving time and call it a unique way using voice in this AI era. It's active practice from the get-go.
Huh, voice typing. That's pretty clever. So you're speaking it as you create it, almost like practicing output from the start. Can you give us a feel for the kinds of words and sentences they're actually working with? Just to picture it.
Absolutely. The source lists words like machine, man, make, male, many, map, mark, meal, mean, measure, meat, medicine, milk, and recipe. Pretty basic stuff. And the sentences are practical too. Things like, the machine is developed by the company, or we made the new system for AI. Also, many people join my program. Every meal is very important for our life, and meat is a good source for protein. So you see, they're everyday functional sentences using those core words in context, immediately applying the learning.
Okay, got it. Useful, practical stuff. But here's where it gets really ambitious for me. This isn't just about one language. They take this whole 20-sentence method and apply it across multiple languages: Korean, Vietnamese, Turkish.
Indeed, that's where you see the power of the system they've built. They create these sentences not just in English, but yeah, Korean, Vietnamese, Turkish. They specifically mention learning Vietnamese this way, reviewing the sentences, even checking pronunciation using something they call
The cloud of jello. I saw that in the source.
Right.
What do you think that means? Sounds unusual.
Huh, yeah, it does sound a bit whimsical. It probably refers to some kind of dynamic review system, maybe a flashcard app or a visual tool. Perhaps something where words or sentences float around and reappear based on spaced repetition principles. It suggests making review more engaging, particularly for pronunciation checks.
Okay, that makes more sense than actual jello. And this isn't just a quick exercise, right? They talk about iterations, a lot of iterations.
It's a massive undertaking. The goal mentioned is 300 iterations. That's 100 times for each of the three main languages: Korean, English, and Vietnamese. The aim: to know more than 90% of those core, high-frequency, and defining words after finishing the whole project. It's about deep, deep encoding.
Wow, 100 times per language. That's That's serious commitment. It sounds like it goes beyond just memorizing.
Exactly. It's not just rote learning. It's about pushing those patterns into automaticity, like muscle memory, but for language, moving it from conscious effort to subconscious spontaneous use. That's the goal of that intense repetition, especially if the sentences are varied slightly, maybe by the AI we'll get to.
Right, the AI part. Let's
Hey,
talk about that. How does ChatGPT fit into this whole process? It seems like a really crucial piece of this modern approach.
it really is. This is where it leverages the AI era fully. So after generating sentences, maybe with voice typing initially, they take the words and sentences to ChatGPT, but they don't just ask for translations, they add a guide.
Hmm.
Basically, they prompt ChatGPT very specifically telling it to write sentences or correct sentence in all the target languages: English, Korean, Vietnamese, Turkish.
Okay, so the AI isn't just a dictionary or a grammar checker. It's actively co-creating and refining the learning material itself, like a partner.
Precisely, an active partner. And here's a really fascinating example of how sophisticated that partnership gets. The creator instructs ChatGPT to, say, write Korean sentences, but also to write down the pronunciation in Turkish for Turkish people can read.
Whoa, okay, that's next level. Using AI not just for translation, but for targeted pronunciation guides based on the learner's native language background.
Exactly. It's multi-layered support, addressing translation, sentence structure, and phonetic accessibility for specific learners. Super efficient. And then all this new AI-generated content, including those pronunciation guides, gets copied back into Google Docs for more study and review. It's a constant loop.
That's an incredible feedback loop. But, language isn't just words and sounds. What about the human side? Does this method address things like cultural nuances or spontaneous conversation, understanding jokes, that kind of thing?
That's a really important point. And look, any purely tech-driven method has its limits there. This system seems incredibly powerful for building that core linguistic machinery, the vocabulary, the grammar, the pronunciation, getting the mechanics down cold. But yeah, for the subtleties of culture, for improvising in a real chat, for catching nonverbal cues, you'd absolutely need to add real-world practice. Think of this AI-powered method as a supercharger. It gets you ready to have those real conversations with much more confidence and skill than starting from scratch. It prepares you for immersion.
Okay, that makes sense. The powerful foundation builder, not necessarily the whole house. So what does this all mean then? For the creator, sure, but also for listeners, for you out there learning a language.
Well, the creator is clearly using it for their own learning. They mention ongoing Vietnamese study, reviewing daily, but it doesn't stop there. They actively share this stuff. With language partners on their YouTube channel, they really believe it can help. They say it helps me, myself, and language learners who are interested in learning with the AI. It becomes more than just a personal hack. It's shared knowledge.
Yeah, it turns a personal learning system into potentially a shared resource, almost like open sourcing a learning technique. That's quite powerful. So wrapping this up, what does this whole deep dive mean for you, the listener? How could you maybe apply this kind of thinking?
I think this 20 sentences project gives us a really interesting blueprint, doesn't it? First, nail down the absolute core, those high frequency defining words, build that foundation. Second, use tech actively, like voice typing, to integrate production and practice right from the start, make it active, not passive. And third, yeah, bring in AI. Supercharge the process. Use it for content creation, correction, even those tailored pronunciation guides we talked about. It's just a really strong example of strategy, practice, and technology coming together for effective personalized learning.
So the final thought for you is this. If mastering maybe just 2,000 essential words across languages, using AI as your guide, could unlock real conversation, what other big, daunting learning challenges could you maybe break down and accelerate using a similar mix? Core principles plus smart technology. Could you apply it to learning code or complex science? Maybe even a creative skill, something to think about for your next learning adventure.